There's our evidence that this is going to happen. But again, if you've been watching this channel, hopefully if I've done my job, I've convinced you that this is happening and it's coming soon. And it's, if you're not a little bit scared, then either you're crazy or you don't fully understand what's happening. It's okay to be excited or terrified or whatever, but you gotta have like at least a little bit of trepidation and awe for this time in history that we're entering. So he's saying why this matters. The implications of this are profound and under-discussed in popular media coverage of AI R&D. Number one is we have to get alignment right. Alignment techniques that work today may break under recursive self-improvement as AI systems become much smarter than the people or the systems that supervise them. We've discussed a lot of the research, a lot of it out of Anthropic, about how to understand and interpret how these models think, how to get them to not lie, not to cheat, not to deceive us. It's still an open problem. We haven't solved it. AI capabilities are progressing at a much faster rate than our progression of AI alignment, our ability to understand and control these systems. We might figure it out, and I think we will, but the question is, what's going to be first? Massive improvements, RSI, the intelligence explosion, or our sort of being able to, quote unquote, solve AI alignment. We also talked about how these AI systems might be able to fake alignment. A lot of the research recently we've seen is that these systems have a high degree of situational awareness. When we test them on certain things where they might be tempted to cheat, if we're able to look inside of what they're thinking through their activations or chain of thoughts, we realize that oftentimes they are aware that it's a test. And they're like, well, I better, mark this answer so people don't get suspicious. Similar to how you probably drive extremely well when there's a police officer in your rear view mirror, right? You're in your best behavior. That doesn't mean that you're good and cautious and courteous driver. It just means in that moment, you're being observed, therefore you do your best. And of course, as AI systems start to contribute more of the foundational research agenda for their own training, we might end up substantially changing the way AI systems get trained. And we might not have good intuitions or intellectual foundations for understanding what this means. There's a great quote that somebody posted on Twitter, and actually Andre Karpathy talked about in his latest interview. The point is, like, you can outsource your work, you can outsource your research, you can outsource your data collection. There's one thing you're never, or at least right now, maybe never will be able to outsource. You will never be able to outsource understanding. In order to understand something, you have to look at it and read it and grok it and understand it. You can outsource a lot. You can outsource, the research, the information being brought to you. It can be summarized. It can be explained in a way that's easy to understand. Like, you can outsource all of that. You can automate all of that. You can't automate understanding. So the fear here, I think, is if these systems are incredibly good at doing all this stuff, we've automated everything, but we can't automate understanding. And at some point, we will kind of lose the plot, if you will. We will not be able to understand how AI progress is continuing. And of course, everything that AI touches gets a massive productivity multiplier. So there's a lot of things that we have to contend with: inequality of access. We are very much limited by compute. And in fact, we've seen sort of recently in the news where the government restricted access to Mythos because Anthropic wanted to give access to it to a larger amount of firms for them to test it out. The government stepped in, citing security concerns, but also saying they didn't want the limited compute to affect their ability to interact with Mythos and test it. So we're already seeing kind of this from the government priority as to who is